Chris Mannix for the crossover alongside Rowan Ned Carney and Howard Beck. Guys, the Nets continue to pick up anybody and everybody that is available. The latest being Blake Griffin, who negotiated a buyout with Detroit. Rohan, we have not hopped in the hot tub time machine here. This is not 2013-14 Blake Griffin. It's 2021 Blake Griffin. How big an impact can this version of Blake make with the Nets?
Well, first of all, Chris, thank you for clarifying that we're in fact not in a hot tub. I'm with you. This is not your older brother's Blake Griffin. This is not the Blake Griffin who is jumping over cars in the dunk contest. I don't understand how this really moves the needle for the Nets. I understand the star power here, and just kind of at first blush, you're like, what? All these guys are playing on the same team together, but what problem does Blake Griffin solve for the Nets? I mean, is he going to play center? Has the front office watched him play in Detroit this year? The only way this move works is if Blake Griffin was really sandbagging it, was really not having a good time in Detroit, was really saving any and all juice he had left for the contender that he was hoping to join this season. Because the version of Blake Griffin that was in Detroit, I don't know that player helps Brooklyn as much as Jeff Green is helping them right now. That's how rough it's been. He's not going to help their defensive issues. He hasn't been shooting the ball well this year. He's going to get some opportunities just because of how talented the rest of the roster is. He's going to have opportunities to make open shots or whatever, but this isn't a move the needle championship ceiling move for the Nets. I don't think that this solves any of the issues they have. If they do end up winning the championship, it's not going to be because they signed this version of Blake Griffin.
Yeah, look, this reminds me of when the Warriors signed DeMarcus Cousins and people momentarily freaked out like, this is so unfair. How could this stacked super team then go out and add a DeMarcus Cousins also when Cousins had already been through at least 2 catastrophic injuries to his legs that were making him not DeMarcus Cousins anymore. That is what the Nets are getting with Blake Griffin. They were already a super team. Getting Blake Griffin does not change anything or really, as Rohan said, move the needle much at all. He's not a rim protector. He's not going to solve their defensive issues. He does give them some depth in the front court, and they were certainly depleted there. He's a really nice playmaker, and he's going to make the open mid-range shot occasionally. But look, Blake Griffin a month ago, when all this talk first started that they were going to cut him loose, I spoke with a scout at the time, and his quote was, "I hate watching him." And it wasn't because he didn't like Blake Griffin. He just didn't want to see this version of Blake Griffin who was trying to be more than he possibly could be anymore. He doesn't have that pop anymore. We've seen it. I will just caveat the discussion this way, which is the Pistons were a team going nowhere in a youth movement, in a rebuilding mode, and with nothing really to play for. Maybe Blake Griffin gets a second wind playing for a contender. Maybe he does still have more in that body than what we saw in his last weeks in Detroit. But given everything he's been through, injuries and surgeries, it just doesn't seem like they're going to get a version of Blake Griffin that really helps much.
I'm going to take something of a contrarian view here because look, do I think Blake Griffin is going to be the impact player we saw years past? No. Do I think he's going to be the impact player we saw 2 years ago when he was playing in Detroit at a pretty high level? No. But I look at that Nets roster, and they really only go 7 or 8 guys deep. Is Blake Griffin more impactful than, say, Reggie Perry? Probably. I mean, he's only a couple of years removed from shooting around 36% from 3. If he can do that, look, he took about, I think, 6 attempts per year in that 2018 season. If he can do that with this team, I think he can help some way, somehow. Now, he's not a power forward anymore. He's going to have to play that small ball center, but everybody's playing small ball nowadays, so I think he can fit in defensively on that end of the floor. And to your point, Howard, I do think there is something to the re-energization of a player going from a hopeless, lifeless, lackluster situation in Detroit to one where you're expected to win, to once again be surrounded by great players like Kyrie Irving, like Kevin Durant, to be with your old teammate DeAndre Jordan. I think we're going to see the very best of Blake Griffin in Brooklyn. What that is, I don't know, but I think it's going to be something that can help them and be a part of their rotation.
Yeah, I think we have to look at him, Chris, like we look at other role players. And it's sad to say that about a guy who was a perennial all-star. But when we talk about role players, we say those guys are best off when they are playing next to superstars, right? Because it opens up everything for them. They don't have to carry the load. They just need to make the occasional open shot, keep the ball moving, play their role to the hilt. That's now Blake Griffin. maybe 15, 16, 17 minutes a game and just keep the ball moving, hit the occasional open shot, doesn't have to carry that much or work that hard. Durant and Irving and Harden are going to carry most of the load. And yeah, he just has to fit in. And in those limited minutes and in a limited role, you can put everything you've got left, whatever Blake Griffin does have left, into that and be effective. So I'm not saying there's no impact here at all. I think he's an upgrade over some other guys that have, gone in and out of that rotation. That rotation's been pretty thin. And Blake Griffin brings a lot of experience, a lot of know-how to the table, and that all matters too. So I don't dismiss the signing as being significant. It's just not going to be, I think, the difference maker between the Nets making the finals or winning a championship. He's a good, available body. It's the right move, just not one that should be, changing the Vegas odds, as some press releases suggest.
Hey, whatever the aging version of Lob City is, that's what we have now reunited in Brooklyn. Blake and DeAndre, I don't even know what the word would be for the new version of Lob City. For more, check us out over at SI.com.